of all, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you SCAYLE for sponsoring this event, partnering with RMW Commerce. My name is Rick Watson, CEO and founder of RMW Commerce. I run a consulting company. I also have a number of podcasts you may have seen. Check them out if you haven't. I work with my partner here, Nick Kaplan, on a number of clients in mid-market and enterprise. SCAYLE in particular is a great sponsor of this event, coming from German market to North America. We wanted to do something different, particularly something that hasn't been done at any event like this before. We're seeing like panel discussions with people who don't say anything interesting yet you've heard before. The format here is essentially taken from the great debates of history, the Roman Senate. They didn't have iPads back then even. Debates between Lincoln and Douglas, which were much more elevated than our debates today, where now we're talking about muting presidential candidates or not, because they wander around the stage. I might wander around the stage a little bit. The topics that we're debating today are topics that we talk about in polite company, and yet it doesn't seem like we ever get the real story. And so part of what we wanted to do is set up a frame and a discussion that will resonate with the community. And hopefully this will be the first of a series of debates, both in person and virtual over time, that we can host on a variety of topics to actually get people talking about the things that matter in the industry. Your host, Tarek Muller, stand up, please. Thank you so much for hosting the debate. Thank you for the team at SCAYLE. Tarek is the co-founder of SCAYLE and the CEO of ABOUTYOU. It's a fashion marketplace based in Europe. Quite a huge number of millions of GMV, several hundred million. It was from this that SCAYLE was created itself. The topics. It's interesting deciding these 4 topics. And we'll go through them as we introduce the debaters, which I wanted to thank you. It's like a murderer's row in the back here of debaters. And what is the format going to be? Let's talk about the format before we talk about the topics. The topic is going to be, you have a green card here, and you have a red card here. The green is the affirmative, or the for. Everyone who didn't know, I was a debater in high school and college, FYI. The red is against the topic. Doesn't even necessarily need to hate the topic, but they could at least be skeptical about it, or at least say that this person is not necessarily telling the whole truth about what we're hearing here. And so when we were talking, we hear these discussions within our companies, but on LinkedIn and social media, it's essentially BS that we hear 24/7. And so what we're trying to do is break through that so that we can actually have people who have studied and prepared like much more than I thought they would. They have been preparing for weeks. And you'll see that in their preparation, their timing. And so what are they timing? 4 minutes, affirmative. 4 minutes, against. 2 minutes, affirmative. 2 minutes, against. Then you guys are going to vote. We're going to count down 3, 2, 1. Everyone, green, red, has a green and red card on your seat. You're wondering what the heck these are? They're for you to vote. You can only vote once. I'm going to count down, and you're going to vote. Everyone's going to vote at the same time. Who do you like? Who resonated with you? Who went too far? If you think someone scores a point during the debate, feel free to use it during the debate too. It won't bother me. So that's the format. Each debate will have 2 debaters come up. We're going to have 4, 4, 2, 2. We're going to vote, and then we're going to go to the next topic. There are 4 topics. So let's talk about the topics. The first topic is the business case for replatforming. Seems like a simple topic. Like, what the hell is the debate about the business case for replatforming? You need a business case. Everyone needs a business case. Yet, so often the business case for a replatform in particular is the stuff of like rainbows and fairy tales. And in particular, the people that see these rainbows and fairy tales are none other than our CFO, who is usually on the other side of the room saying, I love you, but I've heard this a million times before. Yet, people replatform. They do derive benefit. What should be in a great case for a replatform? Why should it be? How do you prove that case in a way that your CFO doesn't get out, run from the room screaming? That's what the first debate is about. The second debate is, if there's ever a word that a developer created, it's the freaking word headless. No marketer ever created this term, and you know this for a fact. Everyone just knows from the laughter, like I already see, and the smirks on faces. The first time I heard about the word headless was like 2011, 2012, when people were talking about Magento. And Magento, if anyone knows, once you got over about 1,000 SKUs, the front end would like completely die. And so people talked about taking the head off of Magento. Maybe some people in the room were saying they heard about it before then, probably Vince, probably Jeremy. But that's where I heard about it. And as a former developer, headless is a very interesting design pattern, which allows what? It allows a separation of concerns. The back office from the front office. And the front office in particular is your customer experience, which is getting increasingly freaking complicated. And so that's the case for headless. The case against headless is generally like you're not gonna need it. Or if you try to do it, it may not work so well. But we'll see what the debaters say. This is my overview. The third is, can we make replatforming more enjoyable? People say in a list of topics between root canal, ERP transition, and replatform ranks right at the top of the list. Because most people aren't gonna do an ERP, they just sort of leave it. If they do it, they're not gonna do anything else for 5 years. But they might try to replatform. And particularly if they pick the wrong system integrator, or they try to do it themselves, even worse, then it's not gonna go well. Let's just say that. Yet, skilled system integrators have seen this a million times before. Unlike clients who might only replatform once or twice in their career, skilled system integrators, and there are many in this room, and there are many that will be partners of SCAYLE as well, will do dozens in a year. And so that expertise is what clients hire to make sure that this becomes more enjoyable. So the case for making replatforming more enjoyable is the case for a skilled system integrator that is helping guide you through the process in the best way possible. However, things don't always go to plan. And people say if you're gonna replatform, you always wanna hire 2 system integrators. One to launch you so that you can fire them, and then the second one to maintain and run. Why the hell is that? That's what I think the negative is. Similar to the business case scenario, the plan for a replatform is often the realm of rainbows and unicorns. And finally, employees, who is gonna use the platform? If anyone's ever been planning a replatform, we're talking about the user, we're talking about the business case, we're talking about the mobile checkout, we're talking about the conversion rate, we're talking about the traffic, we're talking about not losing SEO. There are 0 people talking about the people, literally the people in customer service and operations that need to upload the products and to merchandise and run promotions and to be trained on the platform. Yet we live in a world that is being redefined every day. AI is And investors are telling us that the org of the future for a brand and retailer 5 years from now will have 25% of the employees that exist today. This debate is really about the org of the future. And in particular, once you create a platform and roll it out, who's going to run it? What does that org need to look like? The other side of that debate is like, AI is great, but like, shit's hard. And you're going to need people rolling up their sleeves to make it happen because AI is like, can take you so far. There still need to be people, first of all, directing the AI, and second, to take things the last mile when it doesn't do everything you want. So that's the debate. I appreciate everyone's attention and talk about the topics. Is everyone ready for the first great e-commerce debates? Let's get ready to rumble! Our first debater on the affirmative side is Vince Santos, the president of Maze Group, a skilled system integrator. Come on down, Vince. Against this is e-commerce legend, former Rubin Group, former David Yurman, the co-founder of Discoverist AI, Chris Silver. I'm gonna keep a timer here. Okay, everyone's mics work?
Hello? Hello?
All right. All right, so in terms of the debate, Vince is gonna start out. You'll have 4 minutes to make your case.
Whenever we're working with clients, where they say, you know what, we want to talk to you about replatforming. The first question we ask is, why? And you hear a litany of different issues, like we're on an old platform, the company hasn't innovated in many years, we have a ton of tech debt, therefore any change we want to make, if we want to update the product detail page, the home page, et cetera, it takes forever. We have an army of people supporting the platform, et cetera, et cetera. So we look at each of those pieces and say, all right, let's analyze it. Let's also look holistically and understand, are you driving traffic to the site? Do you understand your customers? Are you personalizing the experience? So frankly, it could be the issue is not necessarily the site itself, and you don't need to replatform. It's just you have a traffic issue or you have a conversion issue or things like that. So what we tend to do is just look at the whole thing, understand the economics, like what are you paying for the platform? How long does it take to make these changes? What's your conversion rate? All the basic metrics. And then we make a decision with them like, okay, let's look at replatforming and then lay out a plan to say, what's it going to cost? How long is it going to take? What's the time frame, and how do you run business as usual while you're also looking at the replatform? One of the things that's interesting in the last couple of years, which have been very difficult probably for everyone in this room, is when we ask the question why, and we get the litany of reasons why, what we often find is there's no budget, there's no money really available to replatform, right? It's a big CapEx expense, et cetera, and you have to run business as usual while you're replatforming. What we found is a great service to offer is optimizing what clients have. And frankly, through that process, we found some clients actually discover that the platform is not as terrible as they thought. And by optimizing what they have, they could eke along until the economic recovery kicks in, which hopefully happens in all of our lifetime soon, right? But that's really it. It's really, what is the business case? It's if what you're running on is so antiquated and it takes forever to make changes and you're falling behind and you're not converting, yeah, then you may want to look at what it will take to replatform, but you have to figure out the economics of it. Like what is the cost? How do you run BAU while you're doing that? And then for CFOs, it's going to really be, the financials, like where are we today? Can we afford to do this? Should we just optimize what we have and see how far it gets us? So that's my spiel.
Awesome.
So first I want to thank Rick for putting this whole thing together. This is wonderful. And if you want to find Rick after this, he'll be down at the local Foot Locker. Size 9's in the back. Vince, honestly, thank you for that. I think you expressed a really good piece, and I know your group is amazing at getting in front of, brands and talking about this because these things are not easily addressed, right? And I think as CDOs, CTOs, and CFOs look at these projects, there's a lot involved with it. I know your group does amazing with it. I've seen them do a ton of demos that are amazing. Then again, I saw the promo video for the Fire Festival as well, which looked amazing. I think the big thing is when you're
Fire Festival. They're making another one, by the way.
I think the thing to think about as you approach these is that it has not a lot to do with the technology. That's just one piece of the puzzle when you look at this, right? There's a team, there's training, there's opportunity costs, there's a lot of other things. There's, are we just going for the shiny object? And unlike Rob Garf's marketing past at Salesforce, it's all just not, technology is not your strategy. So I think did I confuse debate with a roast? I think, sorry about that.
I love it. You're doing great.
Thank you. But I think there's a lot of different things to consider as part of this. We know Replatform are often the CDO enders, right? We know that there's a lot involved with this. The team for, 9 months is going to be taken out of commission kind of working on this, and then you're going to lose a lot of site functionality. Not only that, but top line revenue, you're going to drop in SEO, you're going to drop in all this, and I don't care what SI, and I'm friends with a lot of them, they're fantastic, right? There's always that duality between the technical vendor and the SI, and everyone's trying to do their best. But at the end of the day, it's an organizational piece, right? You're trying to upgrade your tech to make up for a lot of organizational pieces. And I think unless you solve a lot of the organizational challenges up front, then you're just band-aiding it. And that's not a good thing in any SI, no matter how many you interview. Any tech platform is not going to solve that. And you are going to take a hit. It is a huge piece. And, just like point of sale when I was a CIO is, career ender for CIOs, upgrading your store commerce platform, it's the same thing with a tech platform. So I think it's not lightly. You have to think of the 360 costs with it. And it's cost not just in monetary value, but team and morale and losing the team and retraining and having that from the top line approach. I definitely went over 4 minutes. I'm sorry.
No, you have 1 minute left.
No way, really? Yeah. Oh, well, I got nothing then. That was all right. That's tough first part.
Thank you so much. You have 5 seconds to collect your thoughts.
Okay, I'm there. So I agree with a lot of what you said, especially the point that it's not really about the technology. It's about everything else, right? I mean, it's a business you're running. So, we always look at the change management aspects. That's critically important, right? Because there's a cost associated with retraining the team. There's a cost associated with running business as usual. Don't drop the ball on what you're doing while you're replatforming. And frankly, replatforming is not a panacea. Because first of all, if your product's not good,
Vince, are you sure you're the 4?
I'm trying to be neutral here, but yeah, I mean, the bottom line is replatforming can make dramatic differences in the business if what you're running today is loaded with tech debt, things are not going well, and you believe that you have a good product that you're selling, and that if you put it on the right platform with the traffic you're driving, and if you can convert at a better rate, and you have a good product, that, yeah, things could actually improve for you. But again, it's not a panacea. Just if your expectation is we're going to replatform because what we have today won't support the business any further, then it's worth, the juice is worth the squeeze. But there's a lot of disruption associated with it. So just, I would caution people, don't go into it lightly and make sure that you don't overlook the change management aspects because that's key.
You have 2 minutes.
I think I am a fan of the practice of a replatform. And by that, I mean having the conversations, pulling the team together, aligning it. I know we flipped it on you, right? But the practice of it without actually doing it is, I think, a healthy thing to do for an organization. Because think about what happens when you go through that storming and norming and, that whole phase of it, But if you go through it now, there's so many different, brand friends that I talk to, and it's, the things you uncover, the things you understand. I think understanding where the holes are, getting rid of we've always done it that way, and no one actually knows why. Right? I think that's a really healthy practice to do, because if it gets your organizational silos talking, that's a huge, huge benefit. That's a huge win in general. If you start uncovering these pieces, finding out why, talking to the business, pulling the business into those discussions, it helps that whole alignment and that 360 approach. So I think the practice of it should be something that, I say regularly done, but not really, but it should be done in general, because I think it's a good way to pull the organization together, get IT in front of it, get the digital team in front of it, working together and understanding why, and pull the CFO in ahead of time so that you can start coaching it along the way, so that it's not just like it comes in as a complete surprise and a 12-month plan project turns into a 36-month debt. So I think that's it's a terrible to end, but yeah.
And on a more positive note.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Now it's time to vote. Everyone's ready here. We're going to count down. Everyone grab your cards. Green for Vince, red for Chris. Right hand, left hand, whatever you do. We're going to count down 3, 2, 1, and everyone's going to hold up one card at the same time. We're all going to be winners here, but one of them is going to be more winners than the other.
The other will go away crying.
Right, exactly. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Wow. I think Vince is the winner.
So,
Wow.
Best idiot. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
How was that, guys? All right. This is one I'm really looking forward to. There will be a lot of spicy opinions expressed. We talked about architecture, the old straw man debate between fully headless and the monolith. Neither position actually exists in reality. Like from a purist point of view, yet we talk about this all the time. And so our debaters are going to talk about and the for and the against. So welcome up Victor Castro. Victor has been a friend for over a decade, general manager and e-commerce leader at many different brands. And Nick Kaplan is a partner at RMW Commerce and the founder of Fashion to Figure. He's an operator at New York & Company and Sadia Group. We have a lot of experience here. Well, ish. Thank you guys for coming up. All right, hold on. I got to get the timer situation sorted.
is this our trash talking period?
Correct. All right. Go ahead, Victor.
Well, thanks, Rick, for having me. Thanks for the layup. Listen, this is an easy one. If you can have the debate whether you should replatform or not, fine. Once you decide you should, the choice of where to go forward is pretty clear for me. If you're like me and you care about scaling your business and growing your business to its full extent and not being limited by other people, headless is the way to go. I care about the customer experience. I don't need to be told by my platform what shipping option I should list first in my checkout. I don't need to be told by my platform what payments I should take or how my front end should look like. So it's all about the customer experience. It's all about how you present yourself to your customers. And Headless enables that in a much better way than an old age monolithic platform. I would say that there is a lot of benefits to doing Headless. One is the customer experience. The second one is actual cost. I can go and get front-end developers that don't need any platform experience and build the best-looking, fastest, most SEO-optimized front-end. And I don't have to worry about what happens in the back. It's handled. And that's actually a reduction in cost. TCO, easy. I can redo my front-end 15 times in a month, and I don't have to spend any more money. I don't have to worry about platform breaking. 3, it's an omnichannel world, right? It's not just one front end, it's multiple front ends. Tell me how many platforms can actually support all front ends I need. In-store sales support, point of sale, mobile, across platforms mobile, your desktop, and I don't even know what else is coming up. voice, Alexa, you name it. I can do that with a headless format. It's multiple front ends, one back end, supporting the full business, international, multi-language, multi-currency, no problem. Fourth, you have to think about long-term. Business has to scale with you. And if I am able to build the most optimized front end, and let's say that my back end is not keeping up with me, I don't need to rip it all apart and start over again. Change the APIs, make new calls. You're able to have some leverage with your partners. You're not stuck with one that you got to rip everything off. You can just optimize. You can migrate in parts. You can test fast and innovate. Tell me when is the last time that a monolithic platform has innovated a front end? I'll wait. Oh, nope, I don't have to wait that long because the answer is never. It's never happened. You can't tell me that any platform to date has come up with the best checkout possible. It doesn't exist because all the innovation comes from the merchant side. We are the ones that care about how do we convert customers, and we are the ones that care about their experience from beginning to end. So thank you for the time check, sir. He's almost dead. I don't want to keep beating him up. I don't know. I don't think there's a choice. I don't think that you can win this. If you want to scale your business, you need to be headless. I will think that is also the entry point for further growth through composable commerce, where you first start building the separation of front end and back end, and then you start moving pieces as you need them, and you can scale your business that way without having to depend on a single platform.
Wow. Thank you, Victor. Well, I assume you have really deep pockets to fund everything you're talking about. As a former operator, I'm not sure how many businesses you've operated to understand the holistic view as to what matters. So let's talk about contained versus headless, simple versus complex, grow versus, I think you used the word build, right? And then I think ultimately it's sort of outcome versus optionality. So commerce is very different today, and you've talked a lot about sort of the flexibility, and that's really important. But I want to impart on you a few strategies, right? So cash is a strategy, and there's a huge opportunity cost to investment in infrastructure versus customer growth. Because at the end of the day, every business is really about two things: acquiring, retaining customers. That's it, if you're going to survive. Two, sort of agility is the new scalability, and all the platforms that you poo-pooed in terms of containment, they're doing everything that you do, and they don't need to rip, repair, build. It just, you're able to sort of plug. And so three, look, adaptability wins. Let's talk about the headless is the IQ of the world. It's the smartest, but who wins? It's the AQ, the adaptability quotient. The person that has the flexibility, that has the ability to be dynamic and make changes that don't require RFPs and don't require the ability to sort of decide, test, SIs, implementation, QA, develop and deploy. It's all about now and weeks. So let's talk about speed to market, right? Darwin is nobody's friend. We're in that moment. And the ability to be sort of super dynamic, which the contained commerce platform offers you, is super important. So we have speed to market. We do, in my opinion, have a lower TCO, right? Total cost of ownership is low. I think in terms of content plus customers is greater than custom code, right? Where are you making your investments and who's making the decisions about the CIO, the tech team? It isn't about them. It's about the business operators working in unison. And I think a contained platform offers that. It's about empowering teams with information. It's 68% of marketing teams say that they wait on devs to deploy for them, versus in a contained environment, there are not that many devs. So that's important to note. We don't have a full team offshore, onshore, all over the globe to basically manage our platform. And I think that there is this maintenance tax, right, that really ultimately accrues tech debt that has to be repaid at some point. When you're working with a contained platform, there's releases. It isn't a full sort of end-to-end stack. And then I'd say look, you'd scale your business. I mean, scale wins. And the ability to sort of have your own contained solution allows you to make the investments needed. And really what's most important,
acquiring customers. And I think there's a big opportunity cost when you make that investment in the technology plus the infrastructure, the devs, the total tech teams that in today's dynamic businesses like Skims or Fashion Nova that sit on these single contained platforms have made 9 and 10 figures doing that and don't have the unlimited resources that requires to basically manage the platform. And what I'd say is in the end, like platforms don't win, right? It's about the ability to sort of invest in and like keep yourself closest to your customers, not closest to your code base. And that, my friend, is why I think a contained e-com platform is what wins the day.
I love it. Victor, you have 5
I can
seconds.
see you chomping at the bit.
I've been biting my tongue so much. I don't listen. This is not that hard.
You know what?
This is not that hard.
You caught yourself.
Listen, when you're talking about growth and acquisition, I 100% agree with you, but you're sending all your very expensive traffic to a monolithic platform that converts at 2%, 2.5%, versus having a front end that actually will help you. How fast can you test and innovate on monolithic platforms? You need devs to do all this thing, make sure that it ties into the back end, and you're limited by the capabilities of that back end. Not in a headless world. You can do whatever you want, may have the best experience possible, and it doesn't have to be expensive. You know, I think that you unfortunately have been, you know, at organizations that move very slow and have taken a lot of time to do things. I get it. That's not everybody's experience, and you should strive for more. You should be trying to build organizations that move fast. And, you know, if you are considering cost, yeah, listen, it's way more expensive to migrate to a whole new platform that will age out again, and so on and so forth. Look at what is happening right now. All these other platforms are trying to race to become headless because they see the future. Everybody's doing it. Why? Because they see that what is happening is that merchants, operators, are looking for better interfaces, better ways to capture, faster way to test. I don't know, Nick. I think you need to come to the new world. Join us, please.
I mean, I'm chomping at the bit. So if I can process the transaction on the back end and I can serve content on the front end, I'm 90% of the way there. Why in the world would I spend all my time and money on that additional 10% to engineer exactly what I want? Whereas the reality is, you know what businesses, any businesses that are inventory, you know what matters? Turn in margin. So I don't need to focus on a huge tech team to do that for me. These contained platforms that you're talking about, they're learning, they're evolving, and the costs are fractional, comparatively speaking. When you start talking about all of the resources needed to support them, as well as the cost. A very nice chat with ChatGPT told me that a $500 million business versus a $25 million business, in both cases, it was 2 to 3 times the cost to run headless. And that is major teams. And that isn't even factoring in offshore costs both ways. So my point, I guess, is like, I get what you're saying. I don't agree with what you're saying, although you started to agree with me before. But what I'd say is like, listen, what matters as an operator is investment in content. It's not free. Investment in inventory, investment in turning that inventory and convincing someone to buy it. And the investments that CIOs in those worlds who are not incentivized to work themselves out of jobs, right? They're incentivized to build an ecosystem, to not give up the resources. What the incentive should be is we are going to work together as a team, not go to the devs, go to the techs. We are going to sit together and build an ecosystem that doesn't require its own populace to manage, but it's going to require a group of people operating a business together in unison to acquire and retain customers, to sell them what they want in a way that is not super complicated. Like, get 80% of you want for 20% of the costs. It's worth it, because you can invest that capital, free cash flow, in customers, and that, my friend, is what wins commerce. Period. The end.
Did I drop the mic? Yeah.
You can drop the mic. I'd like to thank all the debaters for this. That's you guys. Now it's time to vote. Remember the cards? Green for pro headless, red for not so much. 3, 2, 1, up. Wow, I think Mr. Kaplan is the victor.
They're going to charge you for that.
Thanks, guys. Say, get the late group, we don't want. Thank you. Our next debate is how can we make replatforming more enjoyable? Seems impossible. Yet we've all been on large projects that teams were excited about at the end. Can we succeed again? The two debaters are also legends in e-commerce. Mark Rubin is the head of Kasama Digital and a multi-decade owner of agencies. Tarek Muller is co-founder of SCAYLE, co-CEO of ABOUTYOU. Welcome, guys. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tarek. Thanks, Mark. We're ready when you are.
Hello, hello. All right. Hey, everybody, quick show of hands. Who here has ever done a major home renovation project? Maybe a back deck, kitchen, bathroom? Yeah. How'd it go? Was it terrible? Were you washing dishes in the bathtub, cooking eggs in the toaster oven, dust everywhere? That's what a replatform can feel like. And I'm curious, though, as you did your home renovation project, did you hire an expert or did you do it yourself? Of course you hired an expert, because even though the kitchen is something that you use, it's not something that you know how to build. It's not something that you have experience in. And solution integrators or SIs or agencies have that experience and they have the efficiency. And I should be talking to you, not to the audience. Sorry. So I believe that the solution integrators are indispensable for replatforms because of their experience and efficiency. And they have the power to take something that is otherwise miserable and make it enjoyable. Right? Maybe not enjoyable, but just less miserable. Is that what we're looking for?
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about experience.
Low bar.
A 2024 study by the Baymard Institute that says 88% of site visitors are less likely to return if they have a bad experience. 88%. The whole point of a replatform is to improve the digital experience. But as you said in your intro, technology, like the platform alone, won't solve it. It's the people in the process and the team. And I'm sorry for the the client side people out here. Clients just don't have that skill in-house. Agencies do. And I say this with authority because I've been on both sides. Before joining the dark side of agency life, I ran engineering for a brand doing well into the hundreds of millions in online revenue. And the solution was falling apart at the seams. Like one example, we had downtime for less than 15 minutes that cost over $1 million during a flash sale. It was just terrible. So we decided to replatform, and the board came to me and said, do you want to do it with your in-house team or an agency? And instantly, like it's a no-brainer. I said agency. And the answer is that even though the team I had been building had all individually done dozens of websites over the years, as a functioning unit, as a group at this company, we had done a grand total of 0. And the risks were too high. So what happened after we hired the agency or the SI? All the things you want. Average order value increased, sales increased, no crashes during flash sales. And especially important for me as the head of engineering, the conflict between IT and business was reduced as part of the replatforming by using an agency. We were able to have like to your point, like someone else to hate. So the agency experience, their experience in replatforming made our experience better. And a second point for solution integrators is their efficiency. Yes, 1,000% hiring a solution integrator is expensive, but rework is even more expensive. A 2023 study by CIO.com said the #1 reason that large IT projects fail is lack of internal project management, and that's why you hire an SI. They have the experience, and the experience breeds the efficiency that we're talking about. They've got the templates, they've got the tools, they've got the processes. Just a quick story. A friend of mine recently inherited a brand new, pardon me?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. It inherited a brand new Headless replatform, super cool tech, but it doesn't convert. The business hates it, and the CEO is looking at pulling the plug, and they're looking to hire an agency to redo all of it. A really good agency, I may add. So what have we learned? Your teams, client teams, have the internal vision, not the execution. Replatforming isn't home improvement; it's very complex, and the SIs can realize your vision with their experience and efficiency, and that is why they're indispensable. Thank you.
Thanks, Bart. Tarek.
Yeah, let me start with admitting that I'm a big fan of replatformings. Obviously, I do believe they can be enjoyable, and I am pro SIs. I am not sure how I ended up on that side of the chair. I was just saying that. So I'm totally pro SIs, and we at SCAYLE work with SIs because I do see the value that they bring. Nevertheless, so it feels a little bit like arguing that weekends are overrated now. So it's a difficult chair to sit in here. Nevertheless, I would bet that if we would ask here in the room, we would hear much more horror stories than success stories in terms of replatformings. And I think there are a number of reasons, and sometimes DSI is part of the reason why things go wrong. And I think it starts with picking the right SI. And I think the filthy reality is that there are a lot of really bad SIs out there that massively oversell themselves to get to win the client, yeah, and basically they'll tell you everything to win you, and then very little they achieve. So I do believe you need an SI that has experience with the technology that you are replacing, because you have to get a lot of logic from that old technology, and then obviously you need someone that has knowledge about the technology that you are migrating to. But obviously you also need an SI that has an understanding for your business, and it has an intrinsic motivation of understanding your business. And I think often all of the three things don't apply. And I think that's what makes a bad SI. And unfortunately, there are a lot of bad SIs out there. And then secondly, obviously you need to pick the right technology. And then often this is also obviously a discussion you have to have with your SI. And SIs sometimes are incentivized by the wrong motives. For example, they only have experience in one technology, so they will recommend you that technology to win the deal, or they have kickback deals. So show me the incentive, I show you the result. So I do believe that clients need to ask themselves whether the recommendation that they are getting really is based on an objective study done. And then thirdly, I do believe it's also on the client to give the SI a proper education on the business, but also the vendor has to have a good partner enablement team. It obviously is more common sense now, but I think the client also has to get a commitment from the vendor that the vendor works together with DSI and enables DSI to, do educate, kind of get training, and the vendor needs to answer the questions DSI has. And if you have all of this, I think you have a good shot in having an enjoyable project. Nevertheless, I would highly recommend clients to not go into too much of a dependency of an SI. So I do think that a client should have in-house resources and should understand the project, because nobody will ever care as much about your company as yourself. So I think the client has to drive innovation. And I think as much as I actually think that replatforming should be outsourced to an SI, I do believe you have to keep ownership of the project. You have to keep ownership of what is happening here, and you shouldn't outsource everything and create a full dependency, even though sometimes that is in the interest of DSI, because then they can charge more and you can never fire them, basically, because you have created too much of a dependency. And I think here you really have to be cautious, as well as obviously you have to be cautious about cost control, because DSI always wants to make money. They charge in time and material, and I think you have to be careful that they really choose the most efficient way to solve things and not the way where they can build the most. And I think if you do all of that, it can indeed be enjoyable. And yeah, but you have to earn it.
Mark, you have 2 minutes.
All right. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, and I agree with you on almost all those points. Is that picking the right SI is so crucial. It's not about shiny decks. Yeah, taking you to nice steak dinners. It's about being able to prove the work. One of the things that like, I know I'm not allowed to advertise. I can say, in my experience as an agency, the clients that we worked best with were the ones that would look at our site and say, we want to talk to these references, not just accept the references that we give to them. And that's because they understood that every client needed to be referenceable. And like you talk about, or like picking the right tech. But like in my belief, technology is the last stage. It's people, process, technology. Got to have the right people, got to have the right processes. And most client sides are not going to have people that are used to building big systems. They're used to growing them. Or an analogy you can be is like Michael Jordan, best basketball player of all time, great at what he did, but he sucked at baseball. So your star developer in-house doesn't necessarily know how to implement a system. And like you talked about, like the client side knows their systems, they know their customers better than the outsider. And you're absolutely right. And that's why a good SI works along with you as opposed to around you. You know the business inside and out. They have the delivery muscle. You also talked about like an SI, like taking away control. And a good SI will be fireable. Like they're going to ensure that you have all the keys to the Jira, to the Confluence, to the build server, to everything, and making sure that you or that you're enabled. A good SI will set the expectations, give visibility, and keep things on track. It's like having a GPS. Like you're still driving, you just know where you're going.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, as much as I agree with Mark, he was describing a good SI, and the reality is that there are a lot of SIs that are not good, and where I think, the misalignment of interest is maybe the largest problem. The SI wants to charge hours, and sometimes the SI will recommend you a legacy technology because they know it will take ages to implement. It will take years, and you have full dependency. And I think this is where you need to be careful, because I agree with everything you said, and you absolutely described the good SI, but I do believe, and looking in the reality out there, and looking at so many customer projects and so many projects that also clients that come to us with horrible stories, and I look into it and I see there was a clear misalignment between SI and client, and the SI basically got really rich by recommending a legacy technology that then took ages to implement, made the SI rich. Maybe there wasn't kickback on top. It created full dependency, and they didn't allow the customer to build competency on their side. And at the end of the day, I think that the project was just miserable, and then the SI got fired and nobody was accountable anymore. Yeah. So I agree, good SI, yes, but reality, unfortunately, is there are a lot of projects out there that are not enjoyable, and one has to be careful. But I do agree, picking SI is still the right choice to do, yeah.
Wow. This was serious. I want to thank the debaters. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully everyone's ready to vote. SI can make a platform enjoyable, or it's a little bit hopeless due to misalignment of incentives, potentially. Green, red. All right, we're going to count down. 3, 2, 1, vote. What do you guys think? It's close. It's close. All right. I think we're like close to tied. So we're going to vote again. Everyone put down. Everyone, you can change your vote.
You want sudden death?
Do you guys want to do another 30 seconds? We have no more arguments. All right. We're going to vote again. If you reconsider your votes. 3, 2, 1, vote. Somebody want to give me a count? 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12. I think red is slightly winning. It's my judgment. Thanks so much. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you so much. Thank you. In our last debate, we're talking about the forgotten stakeholders in e-commerce, which is the employees, which are the poor schleps that need to implement and run the platform on a day-to-day basis. Who's going to use it? In the world of AI, is it, will the last employee left please turn out the lights? Or is there a place for employees in the long term in this new age? Again, we're talking about org of the future. On the affirmative, we have Rob Garf, e-commerce. We have only e-commerce legends in this debate. It's unbelievable. Head of strategy and insights at Cordial, longtime Salesforce, amazing person. Thank you so much.
Great to be here.
On the negative, 4, yeah, against. Rama Luri, the SVP and business head of ecom at GSpan, which is developer, content, and applications. Thank you so much, Rama. Rob, you have 4 minutes.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you. It is such a pleasure to be here among, as you mentioned, e-commerce legends. So I'm affirmative. I mean, I think this is kind of an easy one. And so I'm sorry, Rama. It's not a question of if, it's a question of how, when, and where the employee is going to be impacted. But I don't think it's like this binary argument of will there be employees or won't there be employees. But I think it's important for us all to understand the impact it will have, meaning AI. And you just look at the startup world. I'm spending a lot of time, and I did coming out of Salesforce with the startup community, and they're building real products, solving real problems really quickly, and not the hundreds or thousands of developers that some of the larger platforms have to make that happen. They're doing it just in a fundamentally different way. And so you take that as a leading indicator, and it really does say it's going to have an impact on the retail organization for sure. And I think, you can see it across the board, whether it's in development or it's in managing the site or other aspects. Like, even think about the operations around fulfillment and the robotics that are able to do and make that happen. But it's also important to look at.
How about throw a flag for you to look at your opponent here?
Oh, okay. Is that
Yeah.
okay? Sorry, I was trying to work the
No
crowd a little
worries,
bit.
no worries.
Yeah,
You're doing great.
So the last point I'll make is you just got to look at history because it repeats itself in that when we went from, the AS400 to client server, there were changes, and client server to cloud, there were changes. Oh my gosh, no IT is necessary, right? It's going to be all in the cloud and no infrastructure capabilities are all need. We know that wasn't the case. And now we're moving to AI, and it's going to be something similar in that we have to change, modify, and rethink the employees and their skill sets and where they're focused. But it's going to just make them more effective. And I don't know if I necessarily agree that we'll see 25% reduced employees, but I think we will see a recast of what those employees do and what their incentives are and how we train them.
Thanks, Rob. Rama.
First of all,
response.
thank you for setting up. I know it's a difficult shade, this one, sitting and against this topic especially. So because see, this is evolving, am I right? It's not it's a ready-made solution. How we discussed earlier topics like headless versus replatform and all. See, just to give you a little bit of background, am I right? Let us go back and check. If you go back and see 2000s and 2005 timeframe. Till 2012, when the cloud is not evolved, am I right? You see a segment of technology folks like system admins, DBAs, and Linux admins, WebSphere admins, because I'm in the industry more than 29 years. So see that is the core functionality across IT, am I right? There is a app admins, sysadmins, Linux admins, DBAs, so on and so forth. So what happened after cloud? That entire segment vanished, am I right? But is it vanished? Are they not doing something? So they reskilled, am I right? They are all today. So the organization which are owning that sysadmins and Linux and all, now they are all moved to the Google. They are moved to the AWS. They are all in the Pivotal Cloud Foundry. They are all in the Azure. So it's only the rebadge, am I right? The skill, they got reskilled. They're all placed in the, it's an upskilling of this technology. I don't think AI, this is a kind of a trauma we are all in, okay? Oh, AI is going to kill everything. It is not. See, obviously the employees, I'll come back to the retail industry because we are all dealing with the retail and e-com. So in a retail industry, there are 3 different segments of roles, which is planning, which is more like executive planning and all. Second is IT and the kind of a community we are all, most of us. The third is the operations. So bringing AI into this, I feel the effect is not same across all the segments. The effect in the planning will continue because there is no much effect, because ultimately high-touch customers today, the product Sephora is selling, the product which Men's Warehouse selling is slightly different. Like a Kohl selling a shirt doesn't need much planning versus you are selling a beauty product which is very, very essential high touch. So you need a proper planning, and that particular segment will not have much impact. The tools are there. They bring the tools, AI tool, to enable it, number one. Second, IT. IT, definitely they need to reskill. It is not like a traditional way it will continue. There will be a definitely, as you rightly mentioned, I 100% echo with you, because I am seeing we have two products we evolved last 2 years. See, a lot of changes happening in the industry. Definitely the product will bring, IT needs to be scaled. IT needs to be reskilled. See, the last 1 year, we are spending our team completely trained on different technologies. So the third area is the operations, which is definitely, I agree with you, there will be at least like a 60 to 70% impact will be there in the next 5 years. Because see, there is a content operations, there is a merchandising operation, there is a supply chain, there is a lot of operation jobs. So those things definitely will get impacted, and they need to get retrained. But the idea is those jobs will impact only in the enterprise. Think about, see, this is a humanity also we need to think, not just only the IT. So there are, sorry, I know you're counting.
No.
Okay. So there are all retailers, I'm just taking an example of retail industry. All retailers are not same, am I right? There are brick and mortars, there are mid-sized companies or small-sized companies like a Much Sources. I don't want to name them, but they cannot bear the same cost of investing on AI tools. It's a cost. It is not easy, am I right? So those companies, we need to, is a question mark how those industries are going to evolve. But I don't think those employees will get affected. Just yeah.
Thank you, Rob. Rob, you have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay. I'm so happy you're arguing my side. So I appreciate that, and I agree almost with everything you said. But I do want to pick on a point you mentioned. I believe that AI democratizes the entire enterprise. I don't think it is just for the big size companies. I do think as you're seeing this innovation happen, it's impacting all sizes, and it's actually in some cases leveling the playing field. Now, don't get me wrong, the large enterprises, especially in retail, they're gonna have the capital, they're gonna have the wherewithal, they're gonna have the talent to make it happen, but there are going to be disruptive third parties that come in and really help the lower end of the market really compete. And I think that is a battleground that I'm actually looking at really closely. And so again, just circling back to the initial argument, AI will have a tremendous impact on the worker, on the employee across, as I like the framework you talked about, planning, IT, and execution / operations. But again, it's less about necessarily a binary, we're gonna lose a lot of people or gain a lot of people, but it's rather, as we've learned through the last several decades, it's turning really what people have been doing historically into something different into the future.
So,
Thanks, Rob.
2 minutes?
You have 2 minutes.
So, see, I think the employee impact, what I'm trying is like, definitely there will be the retraining and adoption definitely will be done by the employees. They need to take care, and organization needs to invest. But the catch is like, all the industries are not same. You take that like the high-end industrial material or high-end like pharma companies or the medical equipment design companies, which we are working with ResMed or some of these. So those industries, it's not the same as a retail, am I right? So the impact will be there, but it is not same across the all. We can't generalize. It changes, varies. So that's the summary is, there will be employee impact. The impact will be at a different levels, and each organization is different. And high-touch companies like retailers also, within the retail, there is a lot of high-touch where customer stickiness still want to go. And like if you want to going to Italy and taste some good ice creams or something, where you can't show the virtual VR reality and AR. They need to go and they have a stickiness. But I went to that Rome. They said this is a particular brand. You have to go and visit the shop. So I went and visited the shop and tasted that. But so that is the kind of industry will still sustain. It is not going to impact immediately on the AI side.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank these debaters, guys. Everyone get ready to vote for the impact of AI and against, not the same, not as much. We're going to be counting down. 3, 2, 1. One card. This one is green. 4. Congrats. Well, yeah, thanks so much, man.
I agree.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Awesome. One more thank you to our debaters from everyone. I really appreciate it. We're going to wrap this up. We have Tarek, who's going to come up for a minute, talk a little bit about, first of all, thanking everyone, as well as a little bit about SCAYLE. So.
I wasn't prepared for closing remarks. Thanks for setting this up. This was very cool. I've never seen such a format in such a context. I think that was very interesting. Maybe a couple of words on SCAYLE, and then I don't want to bore you too much. So we are SCAYLE. We were founded out of ABOUTYOU, which is a company I founded 10 years ago. You were saying we do a couple of 100 millions. That's not entirely correct. We're doing 5 billion in revenue with ABOUTYOU. So we grew within 10 years from 0 to 5 billion, and we are a tech company. So we've built our own software, and we have productized that software. And since 2019, we're offering that software to third-party brands and retailers. Our customers are usually large and they are complex, and we usually replace Salesforce and SAP. So whenever it's getting too complex for Shopify, for example, we usually come into play because our technology can really solve complexity. We're focused on B2C. We come with a huge feature set, so everything you need is within SCAYLE, so an order management, a product information management, search, promo engine, checkout, and so on and so forth. But it is composable, so if you don't like anything of our modules, it's easy. You can replace the respective module with a third party vendor. And as we are already operating hundreds of online shops, most likely in our add-on store, you will find that vendor already. So it's fairly easy to integrate us. As we are unified and composable, it's fairly easy to migrate to us. We have 0% failed projects, 100% customer satisfaction according to Gartner, so a lot of happy customers. And if you're interested in speaking to us, stop by our booth or speak to Jeff, for example, or to Toby or to myself, and we'd be happy to talk to you. Thank you. Thank you, Rick, for setting that up.
Thanks, everyone, for coming. That's all we are.
Did you know that RMW Commerce has another podcast? Check out the Watson Weekend for an unfiltered and lively e-commerce chat each week with me, Rick Watson, my co-host Jess Liseski, and an array of interesting guests and topics, all focused on e-commerce. You can find the Watson Weekend by searching for it on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. That's all for this week. Till next time, Watsonians. Hi, I'm Rick Watson, CEO and founder of RMW Commerce Consulting and host of the Watson Weekly podcast, your essential e-commerce digest. Our production partner for the series is Podcast on the Fly. This podcast is produced by RMW Commerce. To hear new episodes of the show every Monday morning, subscribe now at rmwcommerce.com/WatsonWeekly and wherever you get your podcasts.